Hello, my name is Rich Howard, owner of Architectural Builder Supply, and this video is to bring you a closer look at the Dorbin number 57A interlocking threshold. Here's what we've got. Dorbin 57A. This is an aluminum profile that is known as the 57. The 57 is representative of this profile and its dimensional properties. The A, let's talk about the dimensional properties. The A in the part number, while I'm getting my tape measure, refers to mill aluminum finish. And you can also order this in the D finish for dark bronze. And they may have it in solid architectural bronze. We'll check that in a moment. So the 57 is 3.5 inch wide. And then it's 5/8 of an inch tall. Okay. Let me give you, because I've had clients ask me where everything lays out from the leading edge of the threshold. Okay, you can see that you've got about 1 inch and 5/8 from the leading edge to the face here. According to the drawing, we've got 1 inch and 3/8, and then 3.5 inch overall. It would be 5/8 back here. This is a 5/8 of an inch tall interlock, which makes it in the category of the shortest units that would be available. And according to Dorbin, back to the base materials, it's available. I did misspeak. I misspoke. 57A mill aluminum finish. It is not available in a dark bronze. If you have need for a dark bronze interlock, reach out to us. If you have need for a dark bronze interlock in this profile shape, reach out to us. We'll help source one from a manufacturer that you can obtain dark bronze anodized. They do indicate it in the 57B, and I'm looking at my catalog over here, which means solid architectural bronze or brass. Just call it brass. Most people call it brass. We would call it architectural bronze. That means that you're going to get an item that will be made of solid brass. And onto that, you can order it as a mill finish. You can order it as a, which would be just raw extruded bronze, architectural bronze or brass. It will patina, it will fatigue with time in the sense of a evolution of what the material looks like. You can also then take that piece of solid architectural bronze and put a 605 or polished brass finish onto it. Solid brass, polished brass with a lacquer. You can do a 606, which is satin brass, solid brass, brushed finish. Oil rubbed bronze, which would be 613 finish. Dorbin can do a black finish. I think they call it Chicago Fire Black. And technically, because that material would be solid architectural bronze, you can plate it. You can do anything you want to it. Now, why would you want such a threshold that would be made of solid bronze? Well, because they're known to last, significantly longer than a piece of aluminum. Decades, in fact. I've seen installations of solid architectural bronze thresholds that are several decades old. And, you walk into a museum that was built 80 years ago, and it's going to have solid bronze thresholds. 5-star hotels in the South that have weddings that occur outside in the courtyard area will have pairs of double doors flanking that U-shaped courtyard. Those are going to have solid brass thresholds on them. You're building a $2 million house, you're not putting a $30 aluminum threshold there, is what the deal is. Why would you want that? Well, the base material is superior to aluminum for longevity, is why. Now, back to our 57 threshold. Where are you going to use this item? And you're probably going to hear me refer to an interlocking threshold as an elegant way to solve a seal problem at the bottom of a door. A 57 and all of the other interlock thresholds that would be available are used to elegantly seal the bottom of the door. And why is that elegant? Well, it's elegant because you get an incredibly positive mechanical seal in the bottom of the door. And the part that I've not shown you yet is the 32Z hook strip. I'm saying that stammering because I'm not trusting my memory on that part number. It is 32Z, as in zinc, would be the part number for the hook strip only. So this is the hook strip, or the 32Z. When this is applied, nailed to the bottom of the door, and that door closes, makes a very positive connection, just like that, as you can see. There is installations of these that are decades old in aluminum, and I'll tell you, they work like the day they were put in. It's elegant because of how smart they are, yet set it and forget it they are in terms of a piece of weather stripping. People will call up, these are in, where we are in Chicago, there's lots of these. Who knows how many. Obviously, because it's metal on metal, it would not be necessarily, it's certainly not strong in terms of R value. It's metal contacting metal, so you'll transmit that. However, it'll sure stop giraffes dead in its cold, dead in their tracks. It will also, I get calls from Arizona, and they'll say, yeah, I need a way to, you know, they're not looking to keep the rain out. The client will say, I need a way to keep the scorpions out. And I don't have to contend that with scorpions here in Chicago. However, in Arizona you would, and you can see how effective that would be at really keeping that from happening. Okay. Now, because of that incredibly positive mechanical seal, you're going to lock all of that out. A interlock, because this is a short one, does not have a trough that would exist underneath here. If this was taller, like 7/8 or 1 1/4, this would be much more pronounced and would actually have a trough profile underneath it. And if you were to search, you really can't see it great here, but if you were to search for a Dorbin 68A, you'll get the concept. Interlocking thresholds that are taller, if any water were to get inside, they would get trapped in that trough. And then what they do is they'll drill a hole from that feature to the front side and then file a couple of notches in the face of the threshold. That's what's called a weep hole. A weep hole, like a weep hole. And if you were to order then a water pan, a very thin piece of aluminum sheet metal, any water that did get in would be exited right back out through the face. When you have a small one, you don't have a weep hole principle because it's too short. But if you add a taller one, you'll have that sort of situation occur. Residential applications is really where you're going to see an interlocking threshold. And really the only time that you'll have a failure of them is certainly over time a door will settle or move, and that's not advantageous because as you can see here, you don't have a lot of margin to contend with between the door and the sill where you're going to install all this material. However, the only downside that a threshold like this has, and it's really not a downside except to say that if you were to pull the door off the hinges and set it aside and move the couch in and out, or paint the door and then set it aside, you're putting the door down on top of the hook strip. I have people call me up and they say, my door doesn't close anymore. It was closing perfect. I'm like, well, what happened? Well, I took the door off to paint it. I'm like, look underneath. Is there a metal strip nailed underneath there? Sure enough, there is. And they've crushed it. And they've tried to straighten it, but that's a fool's errand. And the cost of the lock strip is, the hook strip is so inexpensive, people just order a new one, and that's the case. Now, one thing that I like a lot about Dorbin's lock strip is that it has a little giddy up here, a little shoulder. And not every manufacturer has that. The reason you want that from your vendor is so that when you use the nails, and the nails are included, to attach this to the bottom of the door, you want the head of those nails to not be in the way of that incredibly tight margin that we've been looking at here. Okay? You need that little space there for the head of the nails. So it's going to really look like that if you notice the small gap that I'm artificially creating by lifting it up flat. Okay? Not every manufacturer's like that. Dorbin is. So that is an advantage. You can order that new hook strip. Now, this hook strip is called a J-hook. If you use your imagination, you can see why we call it that. Dorbin does also offer L-shaped strips, and I'm going to pause this video and whip up a couple of very quick drawings to talk next about a couple of common methods of installation. Okay, so I've drawn up a couple of small sketches. And the sketch as seen here is how you're going to normally install this material. Very simple. Okay. The J-hook nail, it gets nailed to the bottom of the door. You make an interlock just as you see. A common question that I get is, what undercut should you work with? You're going to want to be real accurate with that because you don't have a lot of room to play with. We're at 5/8 of an inch height for the threshold. I'd be tempted to be at no more than, like 11/16 total, maybe 23-30 seconds. That margin is incredibly tight. Really, the only space you have there is the head of that nail. Okay, so that's where you're going to be on that. And cutting the door square on the bottom, nailing the hook strip to the bottom. That's normally how that's done. A slightly more elegant way to possibly do it is where you will rabbet the bottom of the door, and you're able to drop the door down a little bit further so that you conceal more of the, not only that you conceal more of the threshold, but you also have that inside corner that I would argue would be better rather than less good when it comes to weather stripping. So those are the two ways that you'll do that. Now I'm just going to scribble scrabble on, now I'll just whip up another one. We had talked about the L hook as well, and that's just going to physically look like this. That bottom drawing, that's below my pen. That L hook, that line is just the nail. Why would you want that? Well, because you can contend with an undercut that might already have been achieved. Maybe one that's too large for that strip to work elegantly with, the J-hook, the 32Z. And that part number on that hook, I want to give that to you so that you have it. That would be a 33AE would be a good part number for that hook strip. And I have also realized that Dorbin also has another variant, as seen here, which in that part number is a 33A. So depending on the positioning of anything, Dorbin can accommodate, maybe better your installation. And in fact, when it comes to interlocking thresholds, Dorbin is my preferred vendor because not only do they have that preferred hook strip when it's a J-hook, but 3 variants of hook strips total that are very helpful to use. And as a result, very elegant way to seal a door. Now, they do more than just interlocking thresholds. They can help you with interlocking weather stripping as well. There is a link below this video to the manufacturer's page where you can pull up not only all of the and I should have shown you better, screws and the nails are included. But there's that link below this video to the manufacturer's page where you can pull up not only all of the Dorbin products that we sell, but a link to the manufacturer's website, as well as a link to the full product catalog. So if you have any questions on the Dorbin, this is their part number 57A, and it's obviously available in every length you really need. Well, maybe not, but we list it in the website from 2-foot to 8-foot lengths. Anything longer than 8 foot we don't list, even though you can order it. We don't list it because the cost to ship is generally problematic in terms of cost. If you needed one 10-foot piece, the freight will make the material cost look rather insignificant. But if you needed 30 pieces, the freight's not a big deal. So anything longer than 8 foot we can quote, but we don't put it in the site because generally no one would ever need such a thing. If you did have need for a custom length, I would very much recommend that you order a custom length and let us know by indicating in the comment field of the next longer piece or pieces what net length you want. And we'll not only cut it and give you a factory edge, but we're going to locate that first countersink at the proper distance from the edge and the proper center to center as well. Why? Well, it'll save you the trouble of cutting it. then drilling possibly and countersinking a new hole, and then having holes that are not symmetrical center to center wise. And this is not aluminum, so you'll need to cut this, and you might want us to trim it to length for you. So if you would like us to send you that net length, we'd be more than happy to do so. Just indicate the net length in the comment field of the next longest piece or pieces, and that's how we'll send it out for you. Especially if it's the brass version. If you're doing a polished brass, you're going to want to order that the net length, because otherwise you're going to cut it, break the lacquer, have an unfinished edge, etc. We don't really care, in the sense that we're making the material out of incredibly long extrusions. We have to cut it to something. So you can save yourself, hopefully, some work and let us know that net size. If you have any questions on the Dorbin 57A or any other Dorbin product, please feel free to reach out to us. And